Hi there, boys and girls. I'm finally back. We had just finished chapter 15 a few days back with Roz playing hide and seek with Jaya and Jad and hoping that the children would be the ones that help Roz to get off the farm. So we're now on chapter 16 and it's titled The Robot's Dream. Cows grazed in the pasture. Wind rustled through the tall grass. Clouds drifted over the fields. Farm machines rumbled and buzzed. Milk flowed into bottles. Bottles were packed into boxes. Boxes were loaded into the milk truck. The truck drove away full and returned empty. Children romped around with their dog. A man sat at his desk. A robot dreamed of escape. That sounds like Roz's day all packed into one short page or one short dream. Chapter 17, The Birds. Hilltop Farm was home to many birds. Swallows were always swooping low over the grass and picking off insects. Crows called from the field like a gang of hecklers. At night, owls glided above the countryside, silently searching for furry little meals. The robot was stuck on the farm, but the birds were free to go wherever they pleased. Lucky, lucky birds. One day, Roz was standing in the pasture, admiring a hawk as he soared through the sky when the cows began grazing around her. The slow footsteps crunched in the grass. Their teeth chewed and chewed. Their tails flicked at flies. All the while, Roz stood there, staring up at the hawk. And then came Lily's soft voice. "What are you thinking about, Roz?" The robot turned to the calf. "I'm thinking about Bright Bill," she said. "It was not so long ago I was watching my son soar through the sky. That seems like another lifetime." "You must hate your new life," said Annabelle. "I can't say that I blame you. Farming looks like such grueling work." Actually, I like farming," said Roz. "Somehow it feels right to spend long hours working with machines and tools and crops and animals. But I miss my old life on the island." Tess had a mouthful of dandelions, but that didn't stop her from speaking. "Maybe you should start thinking of this farm as your home." "That island is awfully far away." "There's a good chance you'll never make it back there." "Don't say that," cried Lily. "Roz just has to make it home. She needs to be with Bright Bill and her friends." "Tess is right," said Roz. "I may never make it home. If I were a bird like my son, I could fly home all on my own anytime I wanted. But I am only a robot." Nobody spoke after that. The cows went back to grazing, and Roz went back to admiring the hawk. Her eyes followed the bird as he soared through the sky, free to go wherever he pleased. Just like Roz wishes she were free to go wherever she pleased. Chapter 18, The Entertaining Robot. Entertain means to make someone laugh, to make someone happy. So let's see how Roz does that. The children wandered out behind the farm buildings, through a clearing, and over to an old oak tree. It was the same tree their father had climbed when he was a boy. Mr. Sharif's initials were carved into the bark, at the bottom of a long list of initials. For generations, all the Sharifs had carved their initials into that tree, going back to the ancestors who first built the farm. Someday, the children would add their own initials to the list. Beneath the leafy branches was a scattering of acorns. Jad cleared a spot for himself, sat down, and pulled a small computer from his pocket, while Jaya climbed above. The siblings spent the afternoon there, lazing around the tree until the robot marched past, carrying the big, heavy toolbox. "What you doing, Roz?" called Jad. The robot stopped. The drone has crash landed again," she said. "I'm going to fix it again. Do you need any help?" "I do not need any help. I'm bored," said Jaya, her legs dangling above her brother's head. "Can you do something fun, Roz?" The robot put down her toolbox and said, "What would you like me to do?" "I don't know," said Jaya, thinking hard. "Can you do a backflip?" Yikes. "Yes, I can do a backflip." A grin spread across the girl's face. "Roz, I order you to do a backflip." At that, Roz crouched, and then she leaped into the air, flipped backward, and gently landed on her feet. A perfect backflip. Jad had put his computer away. Jaya jumped down from her branch. The children were totally impressed. "What else can you do?" said Jad. "Can you juggle?" "Yes, I can juggle." "And I order you to juggle some of these acorns." Roz walked up to the tree, picked 3 large acorns from the ground, and began juggling them in a perfect rhythm. Jaya studied the robot's movements and then began tossing acorns into the air as well. The first one went a little too high. The next one went a little too far. And soon they all went tumbling back into the grass. "Do you know any jokes?" said Jad. "Why did the chicken cross the road?" "Never mind." Jad scratched his head. "Can you tell us a story?" "What kind of story would you like to hear?" "A robot story," said Jad. "An animal story," said Jaya. Ooh, boys and girls, a robot story and an animal story? Does Roz have plenty of those, boys and girls? "How about a robot and an animal story?" said Roz. The children smiled at each other. Then they sat against the tree and looked up at their robotic storyteller. "Once upon a time, there was a robot who lived alone on an island," Roz began. "She spent her time wandering across the mountains and forests and meadows, and then something terrible happened. Rocks fell, and the robot tumbled off a cliff. She survived the fall, but sadly, the rocks killed 2 geese and smashed 4 of their eggs. The robot stood there, staring at the poor goose family until she heard a tiny voice peeping from somewhere nearby. She followed the peeping voice and discovered a perfect goose egg sunk in the dirt. The robot carefully picked up the egg and carried it away. And when the gosling hatched from its shell, the first thing he saw was the robot looking back. "Mama, Mama," he peeped. The gosling thought the robot was his mother. And from that day on, she was. The robot adopted the gosling as her son, and together they made a funny little happy family. The end. The children sat there and thought about Roz's strange story. Then they looked up at her and said, "What happened next?" Boys and girls, I hope you enjoyed this new part of The Wild Robot Escapes. Can you think of why this chapter was called The Entertaining Robot? Remember, to entertain means to make someone excited, to help someone have fun. So think about that. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll talk soon. Take care.